Okay, welcome to the Palatine Hill. This is the oldest settlement in Rome. The Palatine Hill and the Capitoline Hill were occupied from the kind of 1200 BCE all the way through, so we're looking at Iron Age and Bronze Age. The Palatine Hill is textually considered to be the kind of Latin settlement, whereas the Capitoline Hill on the back of the Forum is considered to be the Sabine settlement, and Rome is the merging together of those two cultures, maybe not in the best way possible. But later on, the Palatine Hill becomes the home of the emperors, so we're going to take a look around and try not to die. This is the house of Augustus. Augustus is the first emperor of Rome, and he really wanted to build his house on the Palatine to establish his legitimacy as emperor, kind of. It was one of the things to establish legitimacy, because the hut of Romulus is on the Palatine. Of course, you got to imagine, like, people still lived on the Palatine, like rich people. So basically Augustus was just like, yo, I'm gonna make you move. Like, you can't live here anymore, because I want to build a giant house. And no, it's not a palace, it's a house. Duh. This barrel vault still has the architectural decoration on it. That's like a cool thing. So somewhere on this hill is supposedly the cave where the she-wolf who saved Romulus and Remus is. But I don't know where the cave is. So here's the Temple of Apollo. Apparently there was a giant statue of Apollo here. Go figure. Okay, here's an archaic cistern. This is made out of tufa. This is very exciting because we are about to see two temples. And as I said, you can't have we can't have a temple without water. And these are archaic, so we might assume that that means that these temples maybe predate the Republican period. So we're going to go check that out. Also very exciting, we are right next to the huts of Romulus, supposedly. So we're going to go look at that in a second. And as we know from other archaic sites, there would be lakes or cisterns next to Bronze Age and Iron Age dwellings. This puts us beautifully in the archaic period, and it's very exciting. Here are the remains of a Republican 294. BCE temple to Victory next to a covered cistern. Again, what I said about water. Not much of the temple remains, it is pretty old. It was damaged by fire and then rebuilt, so we might not even be looking at actual archaic remains, which is, you know, sad. I'm gonna walk around, see if we can see the cistern. Where is the cistern? Where is the... Oh, the cistern's literally covered. Okay, so that building is a cistern, and then there was a little door to get into it. Baby cistern for baby people. Okay, so here we are at the Gemalis, which is part of the Palatine, which the House of Augustus was built on. And here, if you zoom in, you can see a little sign that says the hut from the Romulan period. So basically, this is supposedly the earliest settlement area of Rome. Supposedly where the Latins lived, and maybe Romulus himself. So you can't see very well, but there are a couple of post holes in that area, which are believed to be the remains of a circular hut from the Iron Age. What's really interesting is that the Romans actually used to rebuild this hut on the Palatine every couple of years out of the original material in order to sort of like preserve the living memory. Yeah. So a lot of people, question whether these are actually the huts of like the 8th century Iron Age section, and they do date to the 8th century, but if that's not enough evidence for you, you can also use the archaeology around it. As we mentioned earlier, there are systems, and if you look at all Iron Age archaic sites in Latium, in Satricum, in those kind of areas, you are seeing hut settlements with a body of water, either artificial or natural, next to it, and then that area later becomes sectioned off as a religious area and has temples and pavements put into it, which is exactly what happens in this specific area of the Palatine. Also, you know, regardless of whether or not it is the huts of Romulus, this is the area that the Romans believed to be the huts of Romulus, so you end up getting this tie-in between legend and what the Romans believe and versus actual fact. So regardless of whether it is or not, it's still a really powerful area, and you know, Augustus obviously believed it because he built his house right next to it. But yeah, it's cool. This is the Temple of Magna Mater. It is a Republican temple. It was built because the Romans were in a war, and the Sibylline books told them that they should bring the cult of Magna Mater from Phrygia, which is where Troy is. And so they got this idol, which was basically like a weird, like meteoric rock. It didn't even look like a statue, which is cool because she's basically the only goddess who isn't portrayed as a goddess. And then they built this on the Palatine, and apparently that helped them with their war. So the road to hell is paved with tourists who are really loud, so we moved. So again, here is the side of the Temple of Cybele, or of Temple of Magna Mater. Obviously this is only the base remaining. And then there's a little temple behind us. Again, like the Temple to Victory, this was also destroyed and then partially rebuilt, so there's not much that we can really say about it, other than the fact that Cybele or Magna Mater is a foreign goddess, so it's very interesting to have a foreign goddess in the center of Rome. But a lot of people put this down to the fact that she's from Phrygia, which is Troy, and then, you know, like Aeneas, the founder of Rome, is technically from Troy, so I guess it doesn't matter. But I like to think that it's just that while there was a rule that you weren't allowed foreign deities in the middle, that the Roman gods themselves were a complete mix of deity. They were Greek, they were Etruscan, they were Sabine, they were Latin, they were everything meshed together. So I wonder how much that really held true. Okay, here we are on top of the 3rd century and 4th century bath complexes of Severus and Maxentius, and that is deliberately not what we are looking at. Here you can see the Circus Maximus. The Circus Maximus was a large area for horse racing. I've run around it. I do not recommend it if you do not like running. What's really cool about the Circus Maximus is that barely any of it remains. Like, there would have been seating on either side of the slopes, and basically that is all that remains of a later structure of a later iteration of the circus itself. The circus is important for archaic reasons because it is potentially the location where the rape of the Sabines happened. So for those of you who have not read Living, the Latins invited the Sabines to a festival of Consus or Neptune, we're not entirely sure. And, well, actually it was the Consualia, but it was a festival to Neptune, I think is it. Don't quote me on that, oh my god. And basically just like stole their women. So like, thanks Romulus, you're a jerk. Religion-wise, the circus is interesting because we have textual evidence of temples existing in the archaic and maybe Republican era of the circus, which are to Consus, who is a god associated with Ops, who we know is in the Roman Forum, and is a chthonic god associated with covering of grains and also agriculture. And potentially we might even have a Secellum to Dis Pater, who is the god of the underworld. So in Roman religion, you sort of get Dis Pater and Pluto, who are both Hades. It's complicated, but you could say that we have a Secellum to Hades here somewhere. I don't think there's any archaeological evidence to prove it, but there is textual evidence, and a lot of archaeologists do talk about it. So that's like a cool thing. Yeah. So the Consualia, which is the festival where they had the potential rape of the Sabines in this area, was actually related to agricultural underworld festivals. So it was related to, I think it's either the Vulcanal or the Saturnalia, which are both underworld festivals. But I guess this is kind of in the same line as the Colosseum, in which you have a horse race, and this time you're not getting human sacrifice, but there was an ancient festival to Mars, which is called the October Horse, where there was a horse race, and then the winning horse, the tail was cut off, and there was like a fight, and then they would run to the Forum, to the Secellum of Mars, and they would put it on the altar and be like, bam, horse tail, because the blood was important or something. So while we don't have human sacrifice associated with the Circus Maximus, we do have some great blood sacrifice, which I guess, you know, that's metal, but if that's what you're into, I'm not gonna say no.
For clarification, the Sakellum of Dis and whatever Temple of Consus there was would have been underground because chthonic gods. So we're looking for something that's underground and also has been built on multiple times. So it probably doesn't exist anymore. Just a point of clarification. Okay, got to include a view of the Colosseum from the Palatine because it's really nice. These are cremation tombs from under the House of Livia, but this is the kind of thing you'd find in the Roman Forum during the Iron Age. These are from the 10th century. These are potentially the remains of the Domus Aurea, the House of Nero, that were then incorporated into the Flavian houses. So that's like a cool thing. In keeping tradition with archaic structures and temple religious areas in general, here's a wellhead. Very, very nice late 6th century wellhead. You can look at that painting, that is beautifully geometric. And across are the votives that were found in the wellhead. It's another archaic deposit with late 3rd and 2nd century BC stuff in it too. Go figure. I lied, apparently Augustus bought houses from people who were living on the Palatine. I have sullied Augustus's good name. It's a joke. It's a funny joke. This was maybe made by an Etruscan or a Greek. It's cool because it's the inside of a pot, and it dates from the beginning of the Republic. So here we have some rich Republican houses, which were later removed so that the emperors could be emperor-y. Here are some plaques from the Temple of Apollo. We've got Apollo and Hercules fighting over a tripod multiple times. And we've got Athena and Perseus with the head of Medusa. This one's actually really cool. And then we got some weird looking sphinxes. Okay, alright, I'm good. The road to the underworld is also paved with really loud tourists, so we moved. You can see behind me there's a little temple, we don't know who it's dedicated to, but again, you have the Temple of Magna Mater or the Temple of Cybele. So, as I said, I'm standing in the shade because it's shady apparently. So, I was gonna make a pun about the underworld from that, and I think I kind of messed up, so I'm just gonna keep going and ignoring this. This is the Temple of Magna Mater. We saw one of these in... No, I'm gonna put this video before the Ostia video. Scrap, cut. What have the Romans ever done for us? They built aqueducts. We all know who was responsible for building the Severan bath complexes of the Palatine. It was aliens.